So Brian, to start off with Danny McGuire and the news this week that he's going to be leaving the club at the end of the season, if you could share your thoughts on that, please.
It's a big moment. He's been such an important part of the Rhinos team and club for such a long period of time. I wouldn't be able to do it justice really in one sentence, but it's big. You know, he's very determined to finish off the year, but clearly determined to carry on playing as well, which is good for him. Yeah, it's massive news. It's a hell of a lot of what we've done as a club over the last few years, especially on the field, has had Danny McGuire. Some important parts of it is he's either passing the ball or kicking the ball or actually putting the ball down over the try line. So yeah, it's big news.
It's almost hard to imagine him playing in any shirt other than Leeds, isn't it? And yet he says he wants to carry on playing and potentially could play against Leeds next season. Potentially,
I wouldn't know what his plans are. And you know, he says he's keen to carry on playing, but I think he's not thinking about too much of that just yet, and he's concentrating on us. But yeah, I think people like him and Rob and Kev Simfield, when they all, you know, you see them in another capacity, you do raise an eyebrow and think it doesn't look quite right, but life moves on, doesn't it? And people progress and things change, and you adapt.
Does it in any way add extra motivation for the other players to end the season for Danny McGuire?
We went through this with Peacock, Simfield and Luluai in 2015, and for a period of time it doesn't. For a period of time you just get on with it, and you know, we've got a fair few rounds to go, you know, plus some important cup games. It won't, but as the season starts drawing to a close, I don't think it won't become the centre of our focus, but it'll be in there. It'll be in there. It's almost, once we get to the back end of the year, we'll have a look, we'll have a see, but I'm sure it'll have a bearing towards the back end.
And he's talked about wanting to make way for the next generation coming through. Equally, it means losing his invaluable experience. You know, could anything have been done perhaps to persuade him to stay on in sort of that more advisory capacity, if you like?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. What capacity is that then?
Well, even if he's maybe not going to be playing quite so much, you know, just to have him around the club because of the experience that he brings, maybe with a view to staying and moving into the coaching side of things ultimately.
Well, he doesn't want to be a coach. He's expressed a preference. He wants to go into the commercial department. Listen, nobody wanted Danny to move on, and I don't think he particularly wants to retire or move on. And it's just, he's 34 or 35, and he's got to that stage of his career where he feels it's the right time to move. We're not completely in opposition to that. I think to try and persuade him or be desperate for him to stay, it would be messy. It'd be messy. I don't think there's a role, what you're talking about there, that is a coach. He'd have to then come into the coaching staff, and he doesn't want to do that. So, but you know, we've got a fair few experienced players within the squad that started their journey, started their progression and development 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. People like Carl Ablett's been around for a lot of years now, and Rhino and Callum Watkins and Stevie Ward, Adam Cuthbertson. You know, there's a fair few blokes with a lot of experience, not just experience in the game, but experience in the Rhinos, the way we do things. So I think we're covered there.
Moving on to look ahead to the next game then, and the squad. Jimmy Kinehorst, first of all, he's in the 19. He's been out for a long time. Will he make the 17?
Yes, he'll play, Jimmy, yes.
And what can you expect to see from him after such a long time away?
Not much. We're going to cut him some slack, and as long as he makes his tackles and carries the ball a bit, Jimmy will tell you he'll give you more than that. But I think our expectation for him is to get out of it, you know, a bit of game fitness and a bit of timing. Hopefully he'll play against Wigan the week after, and hopefully he's still fit and available for the semi. So we toyed with a few ideas about how we might play him in a different position or off the bench, or maybe play him at Featherton's to start with. We're having some dialogue with John Sharp about the dual reg arrangement there. But with Brett Ferris being injured and Liam Sutcliffe being injured as well, stretches us a bit there.
Somebody else who's coming back is Ash Handley again in the 19 after his hamstring problem. What are his chances of making the 17?
Slim. He's named in the 19. We'll give him a chance, but we're doubtful he's going to get right.
And how big a miss is Callum Watkins after his knock on the head?
Yeah, we'll miss him. Hopefully it's a blessing in disguise and he gets a week to rest up. But it wasn't a particularly bad one, but he just got clocked around the jaw and he got the buzzer. He felt the buzzer for a while and he was asleep. But you get over those pretty quickly, and he's good now. He's passing all his progressions, return to play. He'll be good next week.
What do you expect from Hull FC then?
It's an interesting one because we play them in a couple of weeks in the Challenge Cup. So I don't know. You know, you'd be able to tell me what they're going to do. They're a big set. They really do challenge you when they carry it. I think they're less structured than some other teams, which I think is pleasing to the eye. I don't mind watching the whole play actually, and they do create a bit out of a play the ball win or an offload, but they run incredibly strong. It'd be an interesting one how they play this game, same as us. You know, we're a bit cagey maybe about what we do in this game compared to the next game.
You mentioned the Challenge Cup semi-final. Does that change the dynamic of this game at all?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
In what way?
Well, again, we've all got a style of play, and we've maybe got a special player we'd like to use, or a team that we'd like to field, and you don't really want to let you show your hand too much. So
Poke again.
I'm saying no more.
How important is
Because the history of my coaching has been all about different changes and different things, isn't it? I do the same every week.
A few cards up your sleeve, I'm sure. You moved into second place now. How important is it in the grand scheme of things to keep hold of second?
Very important, and it's good for us. We're really pleased with that. We'd like to be the second spot. We'd like it to be a bit closer to Castleford, but Jamie Jones sent me a text midweek about the meerkat moment that we had in 2015 when we thought league leaders had gone, and then Saints went and beat Wigan at Wigan, and we never thought they did, and everybody else sat up in the world on there's a chance here if another few things fall into place. I don't think it's quite a meerkat moment for us, but it's one of those moments where you do raise your head and you think this could be good, this, and we did play well. We did play really well against a very good team at Salford and nail some stuff that we planned to nail. And you know, up until just in the last month, I think we've started to look a lot better. Before then, I don't think we've been poor. I don't think we've been too far off, but frustratingly not quite nailing some things. So just over the last month, few weeks, and especially at Salford, you do walk around thinking, right, we've got an understanding now, and the players have been that way this week.
And as you say, although there is that gap, it's good to keep the pressure on and see how the people react.
Of course, and these Super 8 games, as I said for the last 2 years, that in the old system of playoffs, you played 3 or 4 playoff games to get through to a grand final. But the final league games could have been against lesser opposition. You might be against a team that's got nothing to play for. So in actual fact, your last 8 games in the old system, some of those could be easy. Well, in this system, your Super 8 games, you're playing against top 8 teams, and there's not an easy game. And everyone's a 15-round world title fight. And they are intense games. There's more play the balls involved in these games than they are in regular Super League games. Well, they are for us. So it'll be a tough part of the year, the most important part of the year, but interestingly, it'll be the toughest.
Thank you.
Brian, you've said throughout the season it's about where you are towards the end of it. How would you assess the performance at Salford with that in mind?
The performance of Salford?
No, at Salford.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, really good. Really good. We specifically planned 1 or 2 things which we did well. And you know, some of that dry weather track had a part to play in that. You know, usually when it rains or when it's a bit wet and greasy, we suffer a little bit with that. But very pleasing after Salford. The second half, we didn't do anything, but we almost just battened down the hatch of the second half. I don't have a problem with the second half, and I got to say, Salford were a bit more determined and had a bit more about them in the second half as well.
A lot's been made about your attack, probably more so by us than by you. How happy were you with that first 40 minutes?
Not really happy. I wasn't bothered about it. No, it was good. It was good. Sometimes the difference between a question from yourself, which might be saying your attack's not good enough, what do you think? Or from saying you've nailed your attack there, coach, what do you think? Sometimes the difference is just a caught ball, and it isn't that we've been clueless in attack. We just probably haven't nailed enough stuff. And there's some frustrating moments where I think when we beat Wakefield at Wakefield, some really good passages of play and we put the ball down. And had we have scored that, the scoreline, never mind the scoreline, but that would have been a bit better. But we'd all have been a bit more confident about what we'd done in attack. So it's sometimes it's just one pass or one catch that is the difference between whether you're asking me a difficult question or not.
And looking at it, it seems no one was talking about you earlier on. Now all of a sudden everyone's going, "Oh, Leeds are just starting to click into gear. The playoffs are coming." Do you feel that way as well?
I don't know what people are saying because I don't read anything or see anything, but we feel that. We do. There's some moments there that was some little exchange between each of us this week where, without getting overly confident or being silly with it as well, you know, bear in mind this is an experienced group that knows that it gets tough at the end of the year. But when you go into those tough periods, you'd like to have a bit behind you. You know, you'd like to have some experience of that you're confident you can do, and that's where we're at the moment. We feel we're ready to enter this important part of the year.
I know it's a double header with Hull, and the Cup obviously has its own rewards, but you've got to play Hull in the league, and not only is it a chance for you to get 2 points, you're taking it off them as well. It could be crucial, couldn't it, come the end of the season?
It is for the top four. I think getting top four, so you've got 4 home games in the Super 8s is an important thing, and then obviously you want to be in top 4 after round 30 with a chance to get through to the grand final. So, you know, we'd rather be up front and in the top 4 rather than waiting for a late surge.
We keep talking about the competitiveness of Super League, but you've mentioned the Super 8. It's almost a very long, tough run into the end of the season. Do you feel that's already started now, given the fixtures you've had and you've got coming up?
Yeah, I don't. In trying to describe the type of season we've had or the season of Super League, I know the debate quite often is about the quality of the season and whether people are happy with what's on show on a Thursday and Friday and a Saturday night on TV. And you could have a conversation about that. And there's merit in all sorts of arguments, but I think the toughness of the season, I don't think can be in question. I think it's just been not too tough, but it has been very tough this year, especially with the catch-up weekends because of the camp. So, you know, we got a lot of bodies who are hurting at the moment and going into a really tough part of the year, and that's no whinge. I don't think anything's got to change dramatically, but it's been a tough year, physically tough year.
You mentioned earlier Jimmy Kynors comes back. How much of a boost is that? Because he can fill a number of roles for you now, can't he?
Well, it gives us some options for sure, and you know we lost Ash Golding for a while, then we lost Liam Sutcliffe and Jimmy all out with the team at the same time, and it stretches you, really does stretch you. So Jimmy comes back and is keen to get that progression for him underway again. He was starting to warm up and start to be a very good centre for us. So I don't think he's going to get that back straight away. But I'm keen that he gets a few games on his belt and we start that process.
And Liam Sutcliffe, how long do you expect to be without him?
Oh, I don't know. He could be available for the Cup. Could be. But I'm not sure. Maybe not so far off.
Brian, just wondered if you get any thought as to who might follow Danny as captain of the club. If the answer is no, perhaps you could tell us what qualities you feel a player needs to captain Leeds Rhinos.
The answer is no, but which is a lie. Of course, yeah, we do think about who that captain is going to be, but I wouldn't make that public just yet, and it's not been decided, and I don't think that decision is just mine either. As a coach, I think the club is, and I've often said, you're not just head coach of a team while you're at this club. It's you're the representative of the team that represents the club. So people like Gary Etherington and the board of directors will have an influence over who's our next captain, and rightly they should do as well. But I think there's some usual traits that you got to be able to speak well, and you've got to be you've got to be a bit of a leader and all that type of thing. You've got to have some seniority. You've got to have a few experiences under your belt. I think the best trait I think any captain of the Rhinos could have is to be measured in adversity, because we go through a bit. Perceived adversity anyway. Sometimes we lose a game and it's a couple of games and it's adversity and it's not. But I think the captain's got to speak publicly and say, you all think the world's fallen apart. We haven't. This is where it's at. We're all cool. There's no drama. We got this covered off, and he's got to convince the world that we're intact. And that, that's not easy to do for players. It's not easy to do for coaches or administrators, but we have a bit more experience in it. But for a captain, and Kev, everybody will gauge any captain against Kev. He was the master at it. He should patent the version of captain he was and go sell it, because he was brilliant at that. No matter how bad it got, no matter how hot the seat got, Kev always maintained calm, maintained his discipline, and kept a bit of decorum about him. So we're not going to get anybody like Kev again. But there are one or two individuals in our team that have been hurt. They've lost some big games. They've been injured. They've won everything and then lost everything like we did last year. So whoever becomes captain next year will have a fair locker of experience behind them.
You mentioned adversity there. This time last year, more or less, you were looking at life in the qualifiers. A lot's changed. Obviously, you're second now in Super League. Through the low points of last year, did you envisage that this year you could recover so spectacularly?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I don't think I'd use that terminology. I don't think it's spectacular what we're doing, but the frustrating thing, and I tell you, I'd have conversations with my head of strength and conditioning, Jason Davidson, who done a great job over the years of maintaining these fellas' durability, fitness. And the frustration was that we couldn't do anything about last year. It wasn't something we'd missed, it wasn't something that we'd forgot to do, or it wasn't something that we weren't doing well. We just couldn't do anything about it. We had no training ground and we had no pre-season. And we always maintained that if you just give us 2 or 3 weeks on the run of continuous training, we know what to do. We know how it works. We know what the blokes need. So, looking forward to this year, we've had some shaky moments and we've had some moments where we haven't been where we need to be. But all that's been cool. You've got to go through a process. So without trying to sound arrogant, I suppose. Of course, we thought, give us a run of games and give us a team that's relatively injury-free. We'll be up there with the best, yeah.
And slightly off topic, Leeds Rhinos Netball launched last week. I know that you've got a positive relationship with former Jets coach Anna Carter, who's now the director of that organisation. I'm just wondering if you had any input at all in that partnership or relationship between Netball and Leeds Rhinos growing, and what your view is on this new relationship, which is fantastic for the city. Yeah,
it is. When Anna was the coach of the Jets, we'd meet up regular and talk all sorts of coachy speak. And she's good. She knows what she's doing. She's a very analytical coach. It was good. I got a bit out of having a coffee with her as well. So this Leeds Rhinos Netball concept is great. It could be very, very good. We're right behind it, and in terms of the resource that Leeds Rhinos Netball will have, we'll have all our resource, as much as we can give, and certainly in terms of expertise and staffing and just some synergy between the staffs. There's all that going on as well, so it's really exciting.
Wonderful, of course, the possibility that Leeds Rhinos could have a Super League team, obviously in Rugby League, and then of course in Netball eventually. It's perhaps a bit far down the line, but that prospect is mouth-watering, isn't it?
Well, I don't know how far down the line it is. You're better off speaking to Anna about what the realities are in terms of timescale, but it seems to me that there's a lot of things in place already for it, so it would be, to have a couple of Super League teams called Leeds Rhinos in 2 different competitions would be an anomaly, wouldn't it? But it'd be good.
Ryan, just one from me. Are you happy with your half-back options for next year, or are you looking at perhaps bringing somebody else in?
Happy for now. Happy for now, and then we'll have a look. We'll see. We'll get Richie Myler in first. Let me work with Richie Myler before we start making those type of decisions. But We haven't closed the book on Liam Sutcliffe as a 6, but Liam Sutcliffe's going through his own progression, playing in many different positions and enjoying it as well. But we haven't closed the book on him as a 6, and Mooney's no slouch. Jordan Lilly keeps continuing to impress, and Jordan Lilly just against a very, very good Salford team there showed up again, so as he did against Saints the week before. So we have got some options there, confident with that.
Robboro's still very much part of your plans.
For sure.
Brian, can I just ask you about London? Is that alright?
Big Ben,
Obviously, former Broncos.
Tower of London.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, go. Sorry.
You're a former Broncos coach. How pleased have you been with their development, if you like, down in the Championship? They've reached the 4 again and are going to be challenging for a place in Super League.
I tell you, it's good. Yes, it's good. They look a strong outfit, and I do remember at the back end of my time there when it got a bit shaky in terms of the future of the club, and obviously they've gone through some turmoil there, which some of that's been unavoidable. My thoughts always were that they could become a very strong club in the Championship and build in there and get build some foundations without having to win games at Super League level, because I'll tell you, my experience down there meant that they won't come watch losing teams. It doesn't matter if they all got a Cockney accent, they won't come watch losing teams. You've got to have winning teams, and I don't know how bad that is either. I think it's just reality. So they had to win some games, and you can't win them in Super League and at the same time build a club and build a crowd and get investment. And what investors want to invest in a team that's usually losing? So no, it's good to see. I'm pleased for David Hughes, who continues to give that unbelievable backing every year, and I can actually see how they might build. Maybe not this year, next year, but continuing to grow. So if and when they ever do get back into Super League, which I think is a very realistic chance, that they're more of a solid club, not just relying on one bloke's bank balance.
Yeah, they're building out there. Their academy's been doing really well recently as well, so the signs are good, aren't they?
For sure, yeah, for sure. Listen, the sport of rugby league down in London has never been really a problem. It's nowhere near as big as rugby union or cricket or football, but it isn't that people don't play the sport, they just never used to come and watch the professional team. So in terms of the academy, there's always been kids playing it, and it's a great version. That's the one that it got a bit exciting. Their version of a Saturday afternoon playing rugby league is different to up north. Sometimes up north on a Saturday afternoon you're lucky if your car don't get broken into, but down there's a real, it's almost a festival of rugby league, and they've always played through summer long before the north did, and that was a shame when the Broncos went through their bit, and because of things out of our control, funding for coaches on the ground in London stopped from the governing body and the Broncos. There's a real scary moment where the kids weren't getting coached as much, and it wasn't as much out there because a Saturday afternoon my boy played for a club called Elbridge Eagles, and there are a couple of pictures there, and it was just brilliant. It was a real refreshing version of amateur rugby league that we used to watch, of some athletes as well. There weren't some kids who can't get in the local soccer team. These kids chose to play rugby league, and some fantastic athletes as well. So let's hope that they can continue to grow.